All right, Sunday Statement time, Week 6. Mike Golic, Mike Florio here with you. Mike, you are up. First statement.
All right, my first statement is how to not play a Hail Mary. I mean, listen, in a game, I know Arizona won. I get it. They smoked Cleveland, but Cleveland only scored 14 in this one. One of their touchdowns at the end of the half on a Hail Mary by Baker Mayfield, who did a really nice job of escaping some pressure and threw the ball about, 63, 64 yards in the air. Got great air under it, and right at the front, right just inside the end zone, was Donovan Peoples-Jones making the catch. So first, again, Baker does a nice job escaping and then just heaves it. And my good friend Tom Jackson, who I worked with for many years at ESPN, I can just hear his voice. Knock it down! Knock it down! Be a volleyball player and spike the ball. And nobody knocked it down. Nobody had position. Peoples-Jones was in front of everybody. He didn't even high point the ball. The ball came into his shoulder pads. Normally the arms go up, so it even had more time, the ball in the air. And no Cardinal there to do exactly what you need to do. Knock it down. I mean, that was the unfortunately, because we seen the other side of that, we see Kyle Murray with a monster Hail Mary last year for them. But man, there's a way to play that, and that was kind of a statement of how not to play a Hail Mary ball.
And I'll tell you, the way things have been going this year with the officiating, just go ahead and knock the receiver down too, and they're not going to throw the flag. So if you can't get to the ball, just wipe out the receiver. First one for me, we talked about this earlier. But to the extent that I want to be true to what I try to give out here, the strongest statement was by the Las Vegas Raiders. Their ability to come together amid the dysfunction, amid the emotion, amid the confusion that they had to have experienced. That's a testament to the organization top to bottom. I was impressed with Mike Mayock last week when he took the podium and basically took the reins of the team. He's now the guy who's in charge of the football operation. There was some criticism of Mark Davis for not being the one who was front and center. Look, Mayock was a professional broadcaster. Let him be the guy. I got no problem with that ultimately. I think Davis probably would have made it worse if he would have been the one who spoke. Mayock has it under control. Bisaccia has it under control. Derek Carr getting it under control. While these guys are processing it, and you said it earlier perfectly, this is their sanctuary. This is their refuge, coming together and playing football. But to do what they did, what an embarrassment for the Broncos to lose to a team that was in disarray. But what a statement for the Raiders to really pull it together and get the victory. And, there's again, we don't have time to get into all the details. Mike, the timing of all of this stinks to high heaven to me. It should have happened before the season. It should have happened after the season. To have it happen the way it did during the season undermines the competitive integrity of the entire season for the Raiders and other teams. So good for the Raiders that they found a way to win. And I think a lot of people who otherwise were neutral or maybe didn't like the Raiders very much are now rooting for the Raiders to kind of undo the damage that was done to them midstream. Because my understanding, and I said we didn't have a lot of time to talk about this, but let me just say this last thing. This Gruden thing could have come to a head a long time ago. It did not have to happen during the season.
And you just wonder what more is going to come from this whole situation that I know guys like you are trying to find out if more will happen. But I'm going to do my second statement based off your first statement as well, and it's about player resilience. You talked about the Raiders and their resilience to go out and play, and this in a completely unrelated situation, but still having to play without a head coach. I go to the players of the Arizona Cardinals. You're going to Cleveland to play a very tough defense, and then you find out your head coach and then quarterback coach as well will not be able to coach because of COVID restrictions, because of the COVID situation, and they're testing. So all of a sudden, they're not there. So you have a team that, and we know the relationship with Murray and Cliff Kingsbury that they have for a high potent offense that all of a sudden doesn't have your head coach who's the offensive guy and doesn't have your quarterback coach. But again, this offense for Arizona against a very good, or what had been a very good defense for the Cleveland Browns, they go in there and they basically do not miss a beat. So again, I say to the resilience of the players, able to put this, again, a different type of distraction of your coach not being there, big time difference, but still having to go on the field with not all your full complement of people involved in a game.
I remember it was the Browns who didn't have Coach Kevin Stefanski for that big playoff win at the Steelers, and now the Browns lose to a team that doesn't have their head coach for that game that was, on paper, one of the better games of the day, but as it played out, it was not. I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor for my second one. 14 carries, 145 yards, and 2 touchdowns for a Colts team that manhandled the Texans. Well, yeah, they were supposed to, but consider this, and this speaks to resilience. You know, Sims and I say all the time, don't let one loss become 2. When you're the Colts and you're up 22-3 in the third quarter and it all falls apart and you lose in heartbreaking fashion, what are you going to do? You got a short week. You got a team coming to town that you should be able to beat. What are you going to do? Are you going to refocus? Are you going to be complacent? Are you going to say, oh, woe is us? What are you going to do? Well, the Colts did what they had to do. Credit to Frank Reich. Credit to Jonathan Taylor. Credit to Carson Wentz. Because I think the Colts can still win that division. They still could. Yeah. Because it's the worst in football, and the Titans may very well pick up their third loss tonight when they host the Bills. But Jonathan Taylor, great statement by him and by the Colts in rebounding from a very difficult loss. All right, Sunday statement. There's the first 2 rounds. Mike Golic is up with his third and final selection.
My last statement is a statement made by Dan Campbell, and I'm interested in what you think of this as well, Mike, talking about Jared Goff, who 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, in leading the Detroit Lions. They lost yesterday 34-11, I believe it was, to the Cincinnati Bengals. And we saw Dan Campbell kind of be emotional last week. This week, a little more anger. And when asked about Goff, he said this. I'll say this. I feel like he has to step up more than he has. I think he needs to help us, just like everybody else. He's going to need to put a little extra bit of weight on his shoulders here, and it's time to step up, make some throws, and do some things. But he needs help. I'm wondering what you think of that. I've always been one of everything is we, everything is us. Maybe this is still too old school of me. And Dan Campbell, and to sit down with Jared Goff and say that exact thing to Jared Goff in his office. But the united front outside of that is we all need to play better. And he did say, not at Goff, he said, but we all need to do it. But he did single out Jared Goff. Do you have a problem with that, or would you rather have that? Are you fine with that and say, hey, maybe that'll light a fire underneath him?
I'm going to probably cop out here and say I do have a problem with it and I don't have a problem with it. I have a problem with it because, as you said, Mike, all of that stuff needs to be internal. But it's possible they have tried everything else they can to light a fire under this guy. I'm not a Jared Goff fan. I thought the Rams should not have paid him when they did. And the way they did that trade with the Lions for Matthew Stafford, they tucked a first-round pick into the package to get the Lions to take Goff's contract off their hands. The Lions knew what they were getting. They should not be surprised here. Their GM came from the Rams. Their GM knows what the Rams ultimately thought of Jared Goff, and they still rolled out the Honolulu blue carpet for him. So the Lions can't claim buyer's remorse now. They knew what they were getting. And it's just a matter of time before they get somebody else to play quarterback. I don't know what they thought, Mike. They thought he was going to become someone he isn't. Yeah. And I don't want to take anything away from the guy. He's a first overall pick. He's earned a lot of money. He's a good quarterback, but he's not a franchise quarterback, period. And so I guess, my guess is Dan Campbell is just at his wit's end. There's nothing that's worked with this guy, so he's going to try this.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.